All right, happy Saturday. Hopefully, you're enjoying some of the good college football going on. Obviously, that big Tennessee Alabama game will be on soon as well. I think starting in just a few minutes. So maybe get this done before that one kicks off. Have an update on Elijah Mitchell. I know that I came on last night. I misspoke because I looked at the schedule wrong. I was in a little bit of a hurry. 49ers don't play Tampa Bay until December. Elijah Mitchell's probable return, I would say, is going to be against the Chargers next month. That game against the Chargers, they're coming to Levi Stadium. Sunday Night Football is on November 13th, week 10. So here's the thing with Elijah Mitchell. He got hurt in week 1 against the Bears. This is the garden variety injury for the 49ers this year, right? The MCL sprain. 8-week injury. I ran into Elijah in the locker room before the 49ers left on their East Coast swing to the Greenbrier. Now they're in Atlanta. And I ran into him about a month after the injury. He's in good spirits. He's walking around fine. And he said that he's still on target for that 8-week return. And if you go and do the math on the 8-week return, that is Chargers after the bye, right? November 13th. 8 weeks exactly would be the bye week 9, which is before the Chargers. But here, the 49ers here over the next few weeks, they play the Falcons tomorrow in Atlanta. Then they come home for Kansas City. Then it's at LA, SoFi Stadium, Levi South for the Rams. Bye week 9, week 10 Chargers, November 13th. And that's, I think, when you'd expect Elijah Mitchell to be back based on how good he's feeling right now and how that is progressing, the MCL sprain recovery for Elijah Mitchell. Anyway, while we're talking about Elijah Mitchell, we have to talk about Jeff Wilson. How good has Jeff Wilson been in place of Elijah Mitchell? Well, this might measure it. This is rushing yards over expectation for NFL running backs. And Next Gen Stats calculates this with the tracking data that they put in players' pads. They're able to develop and just find a number for what the average yards after contact per attempt would be, plus the yards that are expected to be gained before contact. And they basically take all these numbers, put them together into one, and they come up with a average rushing yard that would the expected run. Let's put it this way: the average running back would be expected to pick up this certain amount of rushing yards. So based on these calculations, they're able to see which running backs are overperforming that metric and which running backs are underperforming that metric. And it's based on speed. It's based on, defender proximity. Certain average running backs, if a defender is closing in at a certain speed, at a certain distance from that running back, they're going to, go down at some point. But some running backs do better than the expectation. And this from NFL Next Gen Stats, I think, is a cool list because it shows us which running backs are the best in doing better than that expectation. So Pollard, Nick Chubb, Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, all these guys, top 6 in the list. Jeff Wilson Jr. is number 7 in NFL so far. 5.1 yards per carry. That's the simple stat. But Jeff is averaging 1.34 yards over expectation per carry, which I think is tremendously cool, given the fact that last year he was struggling to come back from that meniscus tear, right? Last year, Jeff Wilson was in a spot where he said, I wasn't at my full burst and I couldn't get there, and it was frustrating. And he said that he finally started feeling like himself during OTAs this season. And one thing that I thought was really cool is that he used last year's slow year as motivation to be ready for this 2022 season. And now in 2 straight weeks, we've seen Jeff Wilson hit 20.82 miles an hour exactly on the GPS radar. So he's close to breaking that speed limit in a school zone. 20.82 miles an hour on early drives against both the Rams and the Carolina Panthers. So there you have it. Jeff Wilson looking really, really good for the 49ers. And I think that they've adapted their running game a bit, right, with him in there, because Elijah Mitchell is the true burst guy. You need the burst to succeed in the Shanahan system. But Mitchell, he gets to the edge. He gets to the edge with such speed that those creases are tiny, but he's able to fit through them. With Jeff Wilson, they're running a little bit more up the middle. And Jimmy Garoppolo's throwing more to the sidelines now, right? So it's almost outside pass, horizontal pass to set up interior run. Whereas when you get Elijah Mitchell back, you're probably going to be able to do, revert to, the initial pre-adjustment offense where you're running a little bit more outside zone and then throwing over the middle. And I think both are great. Like, both combinations allow the 49ers to be efficient because you do whatever the defense dictates for you to do. If they're crowding the box, you want to make sure that you uncrowd the box, right? And I think a lot of these interior throws for the 49ers over the past couple of years had led to a lot of interceptions. You know, they were throwing into tight windows. They needed to stretch it a bit with the pass, and Jeff Wilson has been able to just hit defenses up the gut now with some of these runs because that's what he's best at. He obviously takes defenders' souls. He goes into a dark place, and he's been oh so good for the 49ers here over the past several weeks. So Wilson's been good, but Elijah Mitchell, he's going to be back in a few weeks, less than a month now. November 13th is the date that I would circle for Elijah Mitchell's return. And if that does happen, then the 49ers are going to start building that stockpile of riches in the running back room. You know that injuries are still going to continue happening. It's just the, a nature of the sport and the nature of the position for the 49ers because they run fast and physical. But if they can get to a point later this year where they have Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson and some of those other backs in the room healthy so they can rotate through some of those guys, be fresh as the season approaches its stretch run, they're going to be able to be really multiple with this scheme. They're going to be able to hit outside zone, inside zone, and they're going to be able to pass to set up the run and also run to set up the pass. And I think that is the goal for the 49ers. All right, my prediction for the Falcons game is coming up. I'm going to have another video a little bit later this afternoon. So like the video, sub to the channel, and we will talk to you all very soon. Take care, guys.